Hi, and welcome to Microsoft Teams Essential for IT. This session is a 100-level session designed to fill you in on all the wonderful things about becoming a Microsoft Teams in IT, in case you're interested in pursuing this as a career or going forward and learning. And with that, I'd like to invite Adam Levithan. He's an MVP with Microsoft, and he's going to talk to you about Microsoft Teams.
Thanks so much, Brett. Great to be here. And why am I here? One, because over the last 9 months and several years, we've rapidly put people into Teams the right way. And it's been an exciting point to help people adopt the solution that they've already been using. But, a little bit about me, Microsoft MVP in Office services and servers. I've been working for 14 years in the Microsoft ecosystem. And, when I started my career, I was SharePoint Adam. And I was on the front line advocating to adopt the technology and training on its use. And the thing about it was that employees didn't know what I was doing on the back end, and I was building out infrastructure. Yes, Brett, that means hardware, that supported all the features that I was assisting those employees to use. And while I was in my career working with SharePoint, I was lucky to adopt Teams in one of its earliest release and watch it grow and change. And I have to say that you're here at a great point in the Teams evolution where all of the different pieces are put together and it's ready for prime time, as 75 million plus users a day are attesting to. So it's really exciting if this is something you're looking for to change your career or to start your career. But I want to do a little bit of background and talk about where are we on a whole. And I like to think of it as a technology transformation. And just like I made a journey from SharePoint Adam to broader Microsoft 365 experience and working with Microsoft Teams, I want to talk about how an IT admin is changing from systems management to service management. And systems management is, what was expected out of an administrator a few years ago, focused on hardware, on infrastructure, on performance of that infrastructure and hardware, security, but protecting specific devices and specific locations. Don't get me wrong, if you do want to work with hardware, there still are opportunities, but that's not the daily expectation of an IT admin. An IT admin now is moved into service management. And service management, because everything else is taken care of by, Microsoft as an example, you can focus on identity, on content security, on application performance, and really bring value to the business. So we're talking about the transformation as a whole, but let's talk about what Microsoft Teams is for the IT admin and why you'd be interested, just like Brett had mentioned. So I like to think of it in about 4 different ways, and there are probably many more that we could list off, but we only have a half hour to talk. The first one is that you as an IT admin, where you are focused internal, you are focused only on information technology, now the work you're doing is directly affecting organizational goals and the daily work of everyone around you. And I know that sounds funny because you think, oh, supporting a laptop, that's daily work. No, everyone deals with that at home. They take that for granted. What they want to do is perform and be able to be more efficient at work. And especially in this time of remote work, it's more and more important for that service management. Next, it's not only doing settings for the entire organization, but services like Microsoft Teams are flexible enough to customize to specific use cases. So you have the rules for the general public, and then maybe one group is working with a new client and they need a few different settings, and you can customize to work in that scenario without breaking the corporate rules. That's really important. Then also, Microsoft has identified that maybe there are other tools out there that you want to be able to use. And Microsoft Teams allows that hub of teamwork that you can go to, and you can use not only ecosystem, but also other third-party applications. And then a really big one for me is that you're constantly learning and adapting. There are items being rolled out constantly in the Microsoft 365 environment and in Teams, and your best 6 months ago might be better now because there's a new feature, and you have to stay on top of that, and you have to learn, pun intended. And so here, this link will show again at the end is a direct link to all of the information on Microsoft Learn that you can access and start your education now on top of all of the great MS Ignite features that you're watching. The other thing I want to talk about is, we've said the evolution, we've said what Microsoft Teams is to the IT admin, but then how does this support the business? And so at Witham, when we're working with clients, we like to talk about 6 different areas. And going over a few of them really quickly, secure is really the ability to control identities and to manage all endpoints, not just those specific ones. Automate. This applies to both us IT admins and end user tasks that can be made more efficient, whether it's through scripting like PowerShell, building workflows with Power Automate, or my favorite, using robotic process automation to get rid of those tedious tasks. Extending. While there are already overwhelming amounts of features in Microsoft Teams and other solutions in the ecosystem, there are different development frameworks that allow you to customize and, again, meet those specific organizational needs. But where it really comes, the rubber hits the road, is being able to measure. And, as IT admins, we might think of tracking activities to ensure the system is working correctly. What Microsoft is able to do with the Microsoft Graph and all of the different inputs that it's receiving is be able to identify things like your security score, your compliance score, and your productivity score, which is really amazing, so that you can see how not the service is performing, but how the people using the service are performing. Now, you might have realized I skipped a few, and that's because Microsoft Teams focuses on these areas. So one is communicate, and here you know that we can use Microsoft Teams for one-on-one chat, for calls, and we're in actually the large-scale meeting right now, so you're experiencing that. Then another one of the biggest areas is collaboration. And here we're talking about organized meetings connected to your Outlook calendar, video calls that you can do one-on-one or one-to-many, that calendar that shows up directly from your Outlook, tasks, although in another solution planner, it shows up in that hub of teamwork called Teams, and certainly being able to access your files however you are organizing them. But enough about me talking about them. Let's go to the videotape and let me show you a little. This is a little screenshot of our Witham Teams, and I love to share. We have a channel for Witham Life, and it has adorable babies and weddings, and we do also tax and audit, so auditing success. Really fun to be able to connect to culture. All right, so here, if anyone's already seen Microsoft Teams, I'm just going to do a reminder and walk through real quick of a few different items. So here we have the all of the different features that you can have. You see your activity, you can chat, you see the Teams, which I'm on now, your calendar, also including calls and files. So a team itself, we see here on the left-hand side. Let's talk about the project, Mark 8 project team. So we have the general channel here. We have different channels, but what's more interesting is that we also have tabs on top of these channels that allow us to add different content. And what we can do here too, remember those apps and the flexibility I talked about, is there's probably over now 200. I'm sure there are Ignite announcements that will tell us the exact detail, but a lot of these third-party tools that you can fit directly into your hub of teamwork of Teams. So that's a really great thing that you can do right in here and make your team work for the group of people you're working with. Here you can chat and reply just like you would in our normal daily life if you're using social feeds. Also in the chat feature, you have one-to-many chats. So you see I'm talking to two different people, one-to-one chat here. Also, something I'd like to show you real quick, a little hack, maybe a shortcut for someone who's online here, is you can search and find matches of content that are coming in there. Or also you have a filter in Teams if you want to be able to jump to a specific channel. So you'll see Digital Initiative Public Relations, Digital Assets, and I can jump to that channel. So that really saves time. If you're like me and you start going past about 15 teams, you lose track really quickly. So that's a fun way to look at it. So a lot of different content that is right here. Files, your native experience, being able to look at all the documents, being able to open them in your browser, your app, right in Teams, a lot of flexibility. Also, your sharing capabilities are the same now as they are in Microsoft SharePoint and in OneDrive, so that's great. You can share an individual document directly from Teams. So there we go. That's, in a nutshell, the end user features. But wait, there's more. Really cool things, like did you know that Microsoft Teams is powering the spectator experience of the MPA right now? I mean, right? Super cool. And that's a similar view to the Together mode, which we see here on the bottom left, which has been designed and had already been in development pre our experiences in March. To be easier on the eyes and make us feel like we're more in a live session than just in grid view. Also, you can see another fun little conference table that will be rolling out soon. But if you want to list everyone, you can do that here on the right. And these are new developments that are rolling out in Teams. So these features are going to continually roll out. And that's where you get some excitement as being an IT admin of coming to Ignite like here, coming to the Microsoft 365 conference and other conferences and learning about all the new features and being able to apply them to your business. So actually, speaking of that, let's talk about how the IT admin supports Microsoft Teams. I paused for a second. You're probably saying, wait a second, Adam, aren't those the same boxes that we had when we said that Microsoft Teams supports the business? Yeah, they're pretty close. And that's purposeful because it matches. All of these features are built into every single layer of Microsoft 365. And here, just highly pointing out security, that all of the security you're applying to the ecosystem, you now can apply to all of the content conversations in Microsoft Teams. So that's really important. That matches with compliance. If there are people on here from government or regulated industries. Lifecycle management, as an IT admin, you're going to say who can create an item, how long does it live, what's the review process, and how do we, get rid of that team if it's not being used anymore. And then analysis, having all the data right in front of you. And so, just like end user, why don't we go and see this live. Back to the end user screen. I do like showing real quick just the admin console if you haven't seen this, and all of the admin centers. So as an IT admin, you could spend your entire time just on Microsoft Teams, but also all of the services are available through one screen to get to all of the different controls. So let's go and pick on Teams. So what I want to start with, it's a little bit on the bottom, and my guess is the reason for that is you don't do the settings all of the time. And so here you get org-wide settings. So first, external access, if you're able to communicate with external organizations. I personally love this with Microsoft, that we can chat directly with them being in different tenants. So that's fantastic. Guest access, which is completely different, which is allowing people outside of your organization to be able to access Teams. And this is really important. You might have heard of the term extranet before, but allowing people to collaborate directly with you in your environment. This is so much more valuable and safer than working in email, because all of your content is staying put and you have control of it. Also, you can see some of the other items that we have here: calling, meeting, messaging capabilities. Then there are other settings, the general settings of what you're allowing. And for all of these different settings, you can apply different policies. And where we can see that is if we go up to the apps, we'll go to manage apps. And here I've actually uploaded, we see again, we saw in the end user experience, we see all of these different wonderful apps. You can remove them, you can hide them. I also here uploaded an app that we created, which was a Teams intranet for a customer. And you can see the details of that app. You can update it, upload a new version. You can say that it can't be applied anymore. And then what I was talking about, a great example, you can set up a policy. And so if I quickly click on this for a policy, what I can do is add treehouse. I can even add it to the left-hand side here to make it shown for everyone. And then what I can do, very original in naming, is I can apply it to specific people. And so that not the whole entire organization is going to see this app, I can select by group of people who will be able to see this. So just the admin, I guess. Come on, computer. All right, there we go. Just the admin will be able to see it. And that's good enough. And why I show that is because almost all of these different features, when we talk about the customizable to different groups' needs, you can change the settings based on your users. And so here you can see the users themselves. We'll pick on Alex. Alex, you can see general information. This is a test environment, so that's why we don't have activity. But we could see what policies he's included. So this is important when he calls help desk and says, oh, I'm trying to access this or I'm trying to do that. And truth be told, he doesn't have permission to do it. Then one last thing that I want to show you is the analytics. And to do that, I got permission from the same customer with Treehouse to be able to show their great usage report. And so I did a 90-day report here, but I love how interactive it is, how you have a lot of different metrics right in front of your face. You can see the different information. And then you can also see a really short grid of different teams that are being used in their environment. So really great detailed data. You can also export it. You can send it to a different system to look at it beyond and save it beyond just 90 days. So you have all of these features at your fingertips. And I didn't even talk about voice. I didn't even talk about devices and setting up team rooms and collaboration. In truth, I didn't even show you the teams themselves that you can manage here. So as an IT pro, you have all of these different features right in front of you. You're not going to be doing just one thing all the time. With that said, we're up on my presentation time. I've heard that there are a lot of questions already, so I'd love to see what we can do in the last 10 minutes to answer those.
So Adam, you said you were the SharePoint guy. Is Teams, why Teams as well? Or is it and or?
Ooh, I thought you said you're giving me easy questions, Brett. Man. So I could refer to a blog that I wrote that it is SharePoint and Teams. And I have to admit, especially now, it's more and more Teams first with SharePoint behind the scenes. So there is, I like to call it the hub of teamwork, and then the center of knowledge for SharePoint. And you know, they definitely are complementary. But what has grown on me, and again, I did start in SharePoint, so I was a little remiss to adopt Teams, but I saw how you can have templates, you can have easy access to all of your work in one place. And for me personally, over the last, I mean, it's probably over 4 or 5 years now that we've been using the different versions of Teams. I've been able to reduce my Outlook inbox by about 90%. And that's very important because it's about focusing, it's about paying attention, and it's about being able to interact and have the proper information and the proper answers in front of you. So it's definitely a complementary. And as I had mentioned before, you know, all of the file infrastructure is still, you know, SharePoint and OneDrive in the Microsoft Teams client. So whether you're directly using it or not, you're using all of the great features that have existed and that I've built my career off on.
Adam, I have a question from Miko. And he's a fresh IT grad, so starting out, and would like to use Microsoft Teams for IT, and he's asking for any tips. He says, I still don't know what path to take in for both. Sure, I will use Teams and Office and Azure. One thing I really don't know is where to start. Please help me.
Well, that's really interesting. So, yeah, using Teams for himself or his business. I mean, I think where I'll back up a little, and you know, moving to the cloud. The traditional move is when you're moving a customer or a client or yourself to the cloud. Okay, that was consultant speak. Is you start with email because no one knows that it happened. All of a sudden, you're just in the cloud, and it's almost that easy. Exchange Team's done great. Then the next thing that you do, and even for your personal self, I would say get used to using OneDrive. That sounds simple. So again, just for everyone out there, OneDrive is your personal files. And if you're starting from scratch, I love the browser interface. It has so many superpowers in it that if you can start getting in the habit of accessing OneDrive from the browser, fantastic. Then what that's done for you or for your organization is taught you how to work with files, how to share files. And then you can get into Microsoft Teams for working in groups. And it's really important to me, a recommendation would be to understand how your business works and not just throw Teams out there. And that's actually something we've been doing over the last few weeks, is helping people with governance and recovering from over-ambitious Teams rollouts, I'll say. And then, you know, there was a mention of Azure. Then you go into Azure, you upscale, you say, okay, what can't I achieve with the ecosystem, with Microsoft Teams and SharePoint and Power Automate and Power Apps? Then you go into Azure and all of the amazing features there. There are over, I think, 220 different capabilities in Azure. So picking where to start is difficult to say. Hope that helped, Miko.
Great answer. One last question. So Teams we've seen an uptick in Teams because of this this global pandemic. When that pandemic is over, is Teams still going to be as vital and as necessary to corporations as it is now?
Oh, I mean, I don't think it's going away. We've worked with some of our executive roundtables at Witham, and we've done some analysis. And you know, even if every state went back to allow people to go in the office, those executives only believe that 50% of people will come back and work full-time in an office. So that's just going to create the continuance of remote work. I know organizations, a lot of not-for-profits, to be frank, who any overhead is not good if they can avoid it. And they're saying, we've been so successful, why would we bother having a lease that we can't get out of when we've shown we can be successful and we can just rent space for big meetings, or borrow from one of our groups or what have you. So I think it's a little trite, but it has been evolving as a way to work. And where Microsoft has done things right is taken it slowly and put pieces together. So it's going to be the place where you collaborate internally and externally. It's going to be where your phones are. So it's going to be an integral part of everything you do. Oh, and by the way, also, we didn't mention it here, but it is the replacement for Skype for Business. So even if you're just replacing one feature that you're used to, one-on-one or one-to-many chats, there's so many more features that, yes, Teams is just going to continually grow and be an essential part of organizations' businesses. Can we fit one more in? And for Miko, feel free. You have my email address here. Always happy to talk to the new people or anyone if you want a different answer.
I have one last question. We had someone asking about profile pictures for education. Can you talk just a little bit about how Teams is different for different verticals, that being education or manufacturing or government? Just kind of a little overview.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one is education. The education tenants. So backing up, there are structures called tenants in Microsoft 365, and those can have different code. And specifically for the educational tenant, they are different because they're designed for the circumstance of a lot of external users. They also have, I'll use the phrase again, superpowers inside of them, inside of OneNote, inside of being able to do classes. So there are additional features, I would say. However, baseline functionality is the same. And so that's actually kind of exciting. There's one app that's in Teams now called Shifts. You mentioned, I think, construction. Shifts was designed for frontline workers. It's one of the best names ever for people who work on shifts. However, that feature is available to every organization. And we've recently been using it for organizations that are going back to work and being able to register for office space. So, there are features and tools that are designed for different industries, but can be used and reused across multiple ones. So, again, baseline features are identical. Government, most of the features are the same. Yes, they roll out slower, and that the reason for that is, compliance is built in first, but part of compliance, I'm from Washington, D.C., is documentation. So that comes second. So it's not that the system doesn't meet the compliance, it's getting the approval for it that takes a little bit extra, at least from what I've seen. But the feature set are very, very similar. Great question.
Great, thank you, Adam. I want to thank you for talking to us today. This was really helpful and insightful. And if you have any more questions, feel free to email Adam, or you can check out some of our learning modules and learning paths on the MS Learn page at aka.ms/teamsonlearn. Thank you. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.